I'm Brad Christian Salas. I'm a organizer and strategist within slavery in Nebraska, and also voting rights field director for Civic Nebraska. Melina, Aubrey, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I am Melina Cohen. Had the honor of working as the campaign manager for End Slavery in Nebraska this last cycle. And I also am the communications director for Stand for Schools.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aubrey Mancuso. I'm the executive director at Voices for Children, and we helped lead the executive committee for the campaign to cap payday loans at 36% in Nebraska.
So yeah, today we're talking about Nebraska and what it was like dealing with the pandemic and also dealing with the other pandemic of racism and the type of investment we need here in the state to be able to do the work that needs to be done. I know for myself, as voting rights field director for Civic Nebraska, I ran a GOTV program, an election protection program, and that was for the day job along with like our different legislative policies. And then me and Melina also co-founded In Slavery in Nebraska. And that actually came from BISC. I was at a conference and someone asked, hey, what's going on with Amendment 1 in Nebraska? What organizing work is being done to make sure it passes? And I said, I have no idea. And then when I got back to Omaha, I started asking around and there wasn't anything happening. So I reached out to some people and me and Melina ended up teaming up to work on that. And that was towards the beginning of the year, and then the rest of the year happened. So we got hit with the pandemic here in Omaha, Nebraska. We were obviously, like everywhere else in the country, grappling with the murder of George Floyd. But then shortly after that, we had a young Black man killed here. His name was James Scurlock. He was killed by a white supremacist. And so all these things are happening while we're trying to work on an initiative. I also saw another initiative, our initiative for independent redistricting, not be able to get off the ground because of COVID. So it's been a huge just time of changes when it comes to initiatives in Nebraska. But what we do know is initiatives is how we get things done in Nebraska. It is where we see change. A lot of times people don't think of Nebraska as a state with really super cool policies. And a lot of times we aren't, but when we do have those policies, it is because of ballot initiatives. And one of those super cool policies that recently happened was payday lending. So Aubrey, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so the payday lending initiative to cap rates on these loans at 36% actually passed with the support of 82% of voters in Nebraska. So those are pretty high numbers. And what we found ironic was that 82% of voters supported something that we couldn't get 50% of their elected representatives to support at the legislature. So prior to the ballot campaign, there was a group that worked really for over a decade to try and reform payday loans at the legislature. And in our last attempt, we really went all in at the legislature. We hired a fancy paid lobbyist. We did extensive work on training borrowers on storytelling and talking to the media and ensured that they had the resources and support that they needed to be a part of that campaign as well. And we still couldn't get it done legislatively. So this was one of those issues that really the ballot was the only path forward. And at the end of the day, the people were far ahead of where their elected representatives were on this issue. And Melina, I know that you all had, we ended up eventually having some resources to support the campaign, but I know that you all did the whole campaign without without really a lot in the way of paid resources.
Yeah, that's true. Ours was an entirely volunteer effort. Brad and I never earned anything for the work that we did on this, unfortunately. However, we did, just in the nick of time, receive some much needed support from the ACLU of Nebraska. And that was a connection that we made through, some coalition building and some help we were receiving from other states. Frankly, Colorado was actually the first state to get rid of slavery in their state constitution. And I got in touch with those organizers, and actually out of that, we've now founded a national nonprofit called the Abolish Slavery National Network that's working to pass similar amendments in state after state, which is another example of these ballot initiatives really leading the way in otherwise pretty red states. And yeah, so the ACLU came in and kind of saved the day. We were able, with their financial support, to purchase some radio advertising, which is pretty effective in Nebraska. I think if you look at our results county by county, you can see literally where we purchased that ad space. And other than that, because of COVID, we relied really heavily on, a digital campaign through social media and traditional media, me just talking to whomever I could about this. So yeah, that's how we did it.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really interesting campaign to just really run the majority of it off of word of mouth, and doing a lot of live to streaming videos like this, just letting people know that it was going to be on the ballot. I felt like that was a big thing. It's just people needed to know that they were going to have the chance to vote to remove slavery from our state constitution. And that's the thing to me, why I'm here, what I want to talk about is that investment coming into Nebraska, because I will always fight to remove slavery from any constitution for free. I will always fight for a lot of things and do them for free because it's the way I was raised and I believe in those things. But in Nebraska, we do need investment, and that investment goes a long way. I think if you talk to any organizer here in Nebraska, they're probably in a similar spot as me, where you think about what their year was like in 2020, and it was them working on almost every major issue because there's not enough of us. There's not enough funding here in Nebraska for there to be enough organizers, and to really see the change that we could see happening here in Nebraska, especially through ballot initiatives, because there are a lot of things where the people of Nebraska are just so ready for it to happen, but our politicians aren't at that point. So that would be my ask to anyone who's watching this is, if you have resources, if you have an investment you can make it in Nebraska, because the cost to what you get is just so great here. We got a great bang for your buck. So definitely, if you want to make a difference, make it in Nebraska.
And as a C3 organization, our organization didn't have any dedicated resources to really work on this issue. So, it was really a labor of love on something that we believed in for me and my staff, and our time that we dedicated to that. And especially up front, in kind of our ballot initiatives. I know that the one that Brad and Melina worked on actually went through the legislature, but we actually gathered signatures to get the payday lending ballot initiative put on the ballot. And because of our laws in Nebraska, that can be a very extensive and difficult time and resource intensive process. So that investment that's required up front, before you sometimes even have the chance to form a group to raise money to do this type of work, is pretty extensive. So that's but it's possible to win. So I think just hoping for that.
Yeah, I would just echo what you've both said, especially Brad, about, we will do this work because it's the right thing to do. But I think it's also right that organizers be compensated for their, talent, local knowledge, our efforts and our dedication. It takes skill and knowledge to pull something like this off. And I think that we can't continue to count on people to step up and volunteer. I mean, like you said, we saw one effort fail because they couldn't get it off the ground. So investment is much needed. And like you said, we have a lot of bang for your buck here. We had a shoestring budget thanks to the ACLU, but look what we achieved with that much. So
definitely, we were able to achieve a lot with a little. And I mean, look at just what we have here today. We removed slavery from our Constitution and made a huge difference with payday loans. Like that, those are two huge accomplishments that we got done here in Nebraska. I'm very proud of those accomplishments and to know both of y'all. And this next live video that you'll see will be just talking about the brilliance and resilience of leaders on these ballot initiatives that make such a huge difference in people's lives, and how they kind of did their work in 2020. And I know Melina's going to be on there, and she was an amazing partner throughout the work we did to pass Amendment 1. So I'm happy to pass y'all over to them. But thank y'all for joining me. I really enjoyed this conversation. And everyone watching this, invest your dollars in Nebraska, send resources. We need to give people what they want in Nebraska because the people want it. Help us not rely on our politicians. Thank you.